Oh, welcome to another Win Daily Sports NBA DFS preview. My first time here on the stream. I'm here to learn. I'm here to see who I should be starting in my lineups, and there's nobody better than my guy Ghost at DFS_Ghost. First time on the stream with you, man, but really excited for it. And hey, nothing like a good stream for me to start and do an 11-game slate with you. Going to be really fun.
Absolutely, bro. I'm really looking forward to it. Thrilled to be working with you. And we kind of ended up taking a couple shots to Philly there. We know Mike's not exactly the biggest Philly fan, so we're switching gears a little bit. It's more the Embiid for MVP kind of show now. But hey, I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be a fun ride, bro.
Yeah, it's weird bringing on the Philly guy with a bunch of New York people. I know you're up there in the land up north, but yeah, it's going to be, I'm sure there are going to be a ton of arguments, but there are no Philadelphia 76ers tonight, so you won't hear any of my bias in here. But let's start right away because we got a big slate starting at 7 o'clock. Indiana taking on Washington. Russell Westbrook, highest priced player on the board. Malcolm Brogdon has actually looked really good for the Pacers, 20 points in 6 of his previous 8 games. So he's been playing well. Anything in this matchup you like?
Yeah, I mean, considering Bradley Beal just ended up getting ruled out, I mean, Westy instantly becomes one of our favorite pay-up options on the entire slate. I mean, this guy's peripherals have just been absolutely outstanding. He's rebounding the ball really well. He's been dishing the rock for at a Westbrook type pace too. Like it's just nothing out of the ordinary for him. So you know what? Throughout the entire season, he's been battling efficiency issues, like even worse so than the rest of his career. But hey, when you end up taking 20 to 25 shots a game, I don't care if he's shooting 35 to 40% from the field. The guy puts up so many shots that it just doesn't matter anymore. So Russell Westbrook instantly becomes one of the best plays on the slate when we're looking at that 10K plus range. And then, of course, the player that you're bringing up on the screen right now, Malcolm Brogdon, second round pick out of UVA. I absolutely love this guy's game. We were talking about it on the last show. Malcolm Brogdon, DeAndre Hunter. Are they fun to watch in the NCAA tournament? Probably not. Their offense is not exactly the most. I don't even know how to describe it. I can't even say exhilarating at that point. It's not even close to that at all. But you know what? These guys are just good fundamental basketball players. So Malcolm Brogdon finds himself extremely underpriced in this matchup against Westbrook. He turns over the ball a ton. Brogdon thrives in that pick and roll game with Domantas Sabonis. And of course, everybody knows I'm the biggest Domantas Sabonis truther on planet Earth. So, you know what? It's a day ending in Y. I got a pulse. I'm breathing. It's Mojito Monday. We're playing Domantas Sabonis on every single day of the week, let alone Mojito Monday.
It seems like this is a matchup you kind of like for tonight.
Absolutely. I love attacking these Washington games. They play fast. They actually play at the fastest place in the entire NBA. So that's something that, you know what, when we're talking about opportunity, it's not just, hey, who's going to take the most shots on a team? It's more so, okay, if Malcolm Brogdon's going to take maybe the second or third most shots on Indiana tonight, he might end up taking more shots than a guy such as Jimmy Butler, a guy such as Julius Randle, who will be the top options on their teams. But when Miami ends up taking on the New York Knicks, it's not exactly going to be the fastest game, far from it, if anything. So when we're looking at a fast-paced team like Washington, the amount of sheer possessions that Indiana is going to have in this game, the volume is going to be there for Sabonis, for Turner, for LeVert, for Brogdon. I want the studs in this game. I don't want anybody from the bench. But you know what? You could learn if you're looking for some value, you could turn to that Washington side of the lineup. Guys like Jerome Robinson are going to get a spot start with Bradley Beal ruled out. Danny Avdija is going to get more looks. And of course, Rui instantly becomes the second option, that Rui Hashimura. So a lot of value to be had in this game. Slate starts right away here at 7 p.m. Eastern time.
So going 7:30 game, New Orleans taking on Boston. Now it is all about Zion. Look, there's some other players on the board here. Jason Tatum, obviously. Jaylen Brown is out for this matchup. Lonzo Ball, questionable. But I think this starts and ends with Zion Williamson, right? 39, his career high on Friday, then 38 in his last game against the Mavericks on Saturday. I mean, it's got to be about him, right?
Absolutely. I don't want anybody on this New Orleans side outside of Zion Williamson. If you want to play Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I'll never say no. Considering Lonzo's likely not going to see the court in this one, I don't expect them rushing him back. But hey, if he ends up getting transitioned from questionable to end up being ruled into this game, Nickeil Alexander-Walker is completely off my board. But on the New Orleans side, it starts and ends with Zion. This guy's shooting like 99% from the field in the past couple games, just dunking away, not even going for layups, not even taking any shots. Like he's just shooting like 99% from the field. It doesn't make sense. So to see him putting up career highs, almost hitting that 40-point plateau the other night, once they realize that he is the real alpha in New Orleans and not Brandon Ingram, and Zion ends up taking more shots, or actually, I'll rephrase it and say more field goal attempts because 20 of them are going to be dunks. When he ends up taking more field goal attempts than Brandon Ingram, Zion's ceiling is going to be enormous. So for me, it starts and ends with Zion, especially with no interior defense out there on Boston. And on the flip side, Jaylen Brown being out opens up a couple spots, including newcomer Evan Fournier. The shots are going to be there for him. Look for Marcus Smart to get increased run as well. But this is a Jason Tatum game if I've ever seen one. He's going to be able to take advantage of former Dookie, Brandon Ingram out there. So we got a Duke-on-Duke matchup for our NCAA Elite 8 matchups tonight. Tatum should be able to rule the wing out here. He's going to be reading the ball fairly well. And this isn't a matchup that Boston has to be too concerned about being small on the inside. You know what? Zion's a force. I get that, but it's not like they're going up against Embiid. They're going up against Joker. They're going up against any of these true 7 feet tall centers, right? So Tatum should get a couple minutes at the 5, more rebounding opportunities, and he's going to score at will tonight. So I'm looking at Tatum. I'm looking at Zion. It's really the Duke show in this matchup. I like it. And I know Michael absolutely loves it too.
Yeah, it's great. And of course, you did mention Evan Fournier going to be in the lineup. I mean, any chance at all, or is it still maybe a wait and see here? First game for him for the Celtics.
I'm going to take a wait and see approach, more so just because the usage is going to be there with Jaylen Brown ruled out. But I would like it better if it was actually Kemba Walker being ruled out. Evan Fournier is the guy that's more so going to be a spot-up shooter for Boston, going to be a capable wing defender. But Marcus Smart already fills that role, and he actually does it way better than Evan Fournier does. So I trust Marcus Smart's defense way better than Evan Fournier's. Because of that, I would imagine Coach Brad Stevens does as well. So when it comes out to crunch time, I do think Marcus Smart ends up getting the minutes over Evan Fournier. So I'm going to take the wait and see approach. But if you're playing these large field tournaments where there's 40, 50, 60,000 people in them, a guy like Evan Fournier can be a difference maker tonight.
Now, moving on to the next matchup, Brooklyn and Minnesota, we are going to have the return of Kyrie Irving back after missing the last 3 games due to a personal issue. So he's going to be back in the lineup, and Harden returned to the lineup on Friday after missing the Wednesday game against the Jazz, and he put up a 40-plus point game. So Harden, Irving, both on the floor. What do you expect from them, and who do you expect to use in your lineups for this one?
I really do think Brooklyn runs away with this one. I don't like to make my lineups based on blowouts, but when you're talking about a point spread by 12 set by Vegas, and the line's actually been moving in favor of Brooklyn on top of that, a ton of the money coming in on Brooklyn. The line actually opened up at 11. I'm seeing it at 12.5 on some books now. For Vegas to sit there and say, hey, we got to move this line a little bit because of the amount of money or the amount of sharp money, maybe even if it's both, that ends up coming in on Brooklyn, kind of takes me away a little bit from Harden and Irving. If I do have to pick one or the other, I'm actually going with Kyrie in this one. A newborn in the family, got a little bit of that baby bump narrative going on. He's going to be playing with some motivation, 3 days off. James Harden is making a case for MVP in this league. He actually came out and said, I am the MVP in this league, which is actually why I don't think Brooklyn makes it to the finals. I mean, I keep reiterating that every single show until we get there. Or actually, I'll say until they end up getting eliminated from the Eastern Conference playoffs. I don't think Brooklyn ends up making the finals, and it's precisely because of that reason. When we're talking about James Harden coming out and saying, I'm the MVP of this league, picture these guys now. It's game 7. You got one guy saying, I'm the MVP of this league. Kevin Durant going out on social media talking a bunch of crap. I don't know what's going on in this locker room right now. We're going to wait and see when it comes to the playoffs. But when we're talking about tonight's slate, I really do think that James Harden ends up taking enough of a back seat that I don't need to play him at $10,900. I'd rather just pay the extra $100 and get Russell Westbrook, who is possibly going to take 30 shots tonight. So, you know what? I don't want to have to battle between Harden and Irving. If I am paying for one, I'm going to side with Kyrie in this one. A good couple days rest for him. You got the baby bump narrative that's out there. I really do think that he thrives in this matchup, and he is good friends with Karl Anthony Towns and D'Angelo Russell. So he's going to want to show out tonight.
Music to the Sixers fans' ears that the Brooklyn Nets will not make it to the NBA Finals. I love that. You know what? This is going to work out really well, I think, between you and I.
I think so.
Moving on, Miami and New York. That also 7:30 tip-off. Julius Randle, questionable. Haven't seen anything updated on him yet, so we'll have to see if Julius Randle makes his way into the lineup. Derrick Rose returned from a 10-game absence in Saturday's 102-96 win over the Bucks. So Derrick Rose back in the lineup. Don't know if we're using him in DFS, but obviously that means somebody else in the rotation for New York. How do you see this one playing out?
It would be a big shot to New York's front court if Julius Randle doesn't play. Obviously, Mitchell Robinson is possibly done for the season there. That injury looked really bad from the other night. So still waiting on results from there. We've heard some reports saying that he possibly broke his foot, but we're not really sure about what's going on there. If Julius Randle doesn't play in this one, there's going to be a ton of minutes to go around in that front court. A couple value guys in Taj Gibson, maybe even Obi Toppin if you're really, really stooping low. Personally, I'm not going to go there. I would actually prefer the veteran and Taj Gibson there. And Nerlens Noel is likely going to slot right back into that starting lineup. Look, is Nerlens Noel going to go out there and drop 20 and 20 like an Embiid, like a Joker, any one of these elite centers? Absolutely not. It'll probably take him a week to score 20 points and get 20 rebounds. But this guy has that ability to get 5 steals and 5 blocks in a game when we're talking about just him being out there. And Tibbs gonna Tibbs, bro. This guy goes out there, names his starting 5, and these guys play like 47 minutes and 59 seconds, and nobody else touches the court. So this guy's out there coaching an NBA team like it's 2K with fatigue levels off, and he just runs his guys for 48 minutes. So you know what? If Nerlens Noel ends up getting a spot start here with Julius Randle out of the lineup on top of that, there is no option to take him out for Taj Gibson for Obi Toppin because 2 of those guys are going to start, and one of them is barely going to see the court for maybe 10 to 15 minutes. So is it a favorable matchup versus Bam Adebayo and any one of these other guys? Absolutely not. But when we're talking about somebody that's relatively affordable in terms of the pricing range, we do need that to mix and match into our DFS lineups. Nerlens Noel is certainly on my short list tonight. And then on the Miami side, I'm not really interested in that backcourt of a carousel right now. We know Oladipo's out. We know Kendrick Nunn is out. Kind of shortening it down a little bit. But Goran Dragic is slated to return to this one. We still have a ton of guys in that backcourt. Duncan Robinson is still there. Obviously, my favorite Tyler Hero is still out there. He could ball. This offense and defense runs around Jimmy Butler. 9K for Jimmy Butler. Guy's getting a triple-double essentially every single game since he came back from a long absence because of COVID. Jimmy Butler at 9K would be my play from this one. But all in all, I don't mind passing up on this game at all. Just really depends what happens with Julius Randle. If Julius Randle ends up being out, I might have I might have a bit more Nick exposure than what I'm thinking about right now.
Yeah, definitely. Everything is predicated on whether or not Julius Randle is in the lineup. Again, any information on that as we're doing the stream here on WinDailySports.com, then we'll let you know. My name is Jon Jansen. My guy Ghost as well at DFS_Ghost, as you can see there for his Twitter account. Moving on now to the 8 o'clock games. Toronto taking on Detroit. This is a back-to-back for the Toronto Raptors. Fred VanVleet has not been very shy at all, putting up a lot of shots. It's honestly been a lot of him just chucking up three-point shots. Pascal Siakam playing well. Things changing, obviously, for Toronto. Not as much as I thought, thinking Kyle Lowry might be gone, but Fred VanVleet seems to be the one who's benefiting maybe from Norm Powell going away, and he's taking a lot of shots as of late.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a game where, you know what, if Kyle doesn't play in this one, Fred VanVleet instantly becomes one of my favorite options on the slate when we're not discussing the Russell Westbrooks, the 10K plus range. If you're living and dying in that 7.5 to 8.5K range, there are a ton of guys on the slate that could get the job done for you, one of which is Fred VanVleet. Look, I don't know if Kyle Lowry is going to play in this one, but either way, Fred's just been taking so many shots, exactly like what you've been saying. And believe it or not, the last time these two teams played, obviously I watch every Raptors game because I'm north of the border. So because I was sitting there and I'm so frustrated, I'm like, oh my God, okay, so we're making a playoff push, or at least we're trying to get into the play-ins. Not exactly the way that I had anticipated the season going, but look, our interior defense sucks. Our interior offense sucks. Like we'll figure it out. We'll get the job done. We got to get into the play-ins. And Detroit's going out there and they're shooting lights out from 3. They couldn't defend the interior. Someone like Isaiah Stewart is just dominating them on the inside. They couldn't defend the 3. Wayne Ellington shot 7 for 8 from deep. So is it going to be a repeat performance from Detroit tonight? I don't know, but this is a team that, picture yourself in that locker room right now. These guys have absolutely nothing to lose. They've won a handful of games all season long. They know they're not going anywhere. They're pretty much going to get the first overall pick in the draft. These guys are playing for pride at this point. They don't have anything to lose. Guys like Saben Lee are going to be out there getting a ton of minutes. Dennis Smith Jr. is ruled out of this game. Who's going to be the primary ball handler for Detroit tonight? There's a ton of value to be had in this game. Is it the sexiest of options on this slate? Absolutely not, especially when we're talking about a 10, 11, 12 game slate. But from a value perspective, Saben Lee at 3,800 is definitely somebody that interests me. He's got to go out there now and say, hey, you acquired Hamidou Diallo, you traded away DeLon Wright, you traded away a bunch of guys. They don't really know what's going on with that organization. Saben Lee wants to really reiterate that, you know what, I belong in this rotation. He's going to go out there, play 20 plus minutes. I'm expecting big things from him. And on the Toronto side, just like we said in the last game, Tibbs going to Tibbs. Nick Nurse is Tibbs 2.0. He does the exact same thing. Everyone who's watched the Raptors game knows that. Myself as a diehard Raptors fan, trust me, all these guys are going to get 40 minutes tonight, whether they're up by 20, down by 20, whether it's a 60 to 60 game or a 140 to 140 game. I can guarantee you that Fred Siakam, OG, and Kyle, if he plays, all four of them are going to be out there on the court the entire game. So you know what? There is a bit of interest for me in this one. I'm playing Fred. I'm playing Saban Lee. Ideally, I would like Kyle Lowry to be sitting out to playing Fred VanVleet. If he's in, I'm likely not touching the big Toronto guns, but I am playing Saban Lee in my main lineup tonight.
Yeah, I think Fred VanVleet, he could be a really good one if Kyle Lowry does not play tonight. He is questionable against Detroit. Memphis taking on Houston. Christian Wood, he is questionable. John Wall posted his second double-double in as many nights. And, of course, Ja Morant continues to be hit or miss. I mean, boom or bust. It is one extreme to the other with Ja Morant. Any chance Ja Morant, after only had 12 points, 12 from the floor, does the bounce back happen in this game?
If there's ever a game for him to do it, it's in this matchup right here. So whoever watches Ja Morant says, man, this kid could fly up and down the court. This guy can run up and down the court with the best of them. And before Ja might have been like 10 years old when John Wall was doing that in his prime. I don't know the ages. I'm not going to sit here and try and do the math in my head. But when John Wall was doing that in his prime, Ja was saying, man, I want to be John Wall and I'm older. And now all of a sudden he's on the other side of that game. So I love this game. 2 point guards that turn over the ball a ton, 2 guys that love to push the pace, ton of offense, no defense. You love to see it. These are things that we love in DFS. No ton of offense, no defense, fast paced, ton of turnovers, guys that can push the pace in transition, buckets, finding open threes. I love this game. And when we're talking about that, when I said before, living and dying in that 75 to 8,500 range, it's this game right here. If you're playing John Wall, you could play Ja Morant, you get a 1-2 stack going, and you just hope the point guards end up showing out in this one. My one concern about Ja is exactly what you had mentioned, was the inconsistency level from a scoring perspective. You get Dylan Brooks back into the fold. They have guys like Kyle Anderson, guys like Grayson Allen. Joe Val is still going to get his on the inside, especially with Christian Wood, so-called defense. He just doesn't play defense at all, but at least he stands there. Like Joe Val is going to get a ton of touches tonight too. So my one concern is, does Ja end up hitting 50 plus, like what I want from him tonight? I don't know if he gets there, but John Wall is an extreme priority for me at the time being. We'll see as tip leads up here. We're getting a ton of injury news falling in for the next 58 minutes. And obviously, I do a ton of pivoting after lock as well. But John Wall right now at 8,300, this is a dream matchup for him. And it's very hard for me not to lock him in my lineup.
Yeah, this one, of course, Houston, not very good. So I expect the game to be somewhat close and expect there to be a lot of scoring as well. So that seems like a matchup to definitely take a hold of. Now, Luka Doncic, he is coming back, going to the 8 o'clock game between Oklahoma City and Dallas. Luka Doncic was out with back injury and illness the last 2 games. And while he was out, Porzingis, he has been doing very well. He's been doing very well after the All-Star break. His last game put up 31 points. With Luka Doncic back, though, do we maybe pivot away from Porzingis, or is Porzingis a play here that you like?
So I don't want anything to do with the top 2 guys here, and that's because of OKC's, I guess we could say, the state of their team, the state of their organization at this point. Sam Presti is just sitting on his 47 draft picks in like the next 3 drafts. So right now, I don't really have interest in paying 10.8 for Luka. And again, it's not that, can Luka Doncic win you a slate? Yeah, absolutely. If it's a day ending and why, Luka Doncic can be in the optimal lineup. That's just a known fact. But when you end up finding him in this type of game environment, where does he have to drop a 40-point triple-double to win this game? My gut is telling me no. You know, SGA is not exactly shut down, but they're saying they're not going to rush him back. And no kidding, the OKC has won like maybe 10 games this season. They're going nowhere. They're sitting there trying to collect their draft picks. Al Horford shut down for the season. The one guy that I have interest in, everyone knows it. Whoever's in the Discord chat, windaysports.com/chat. Make sure you guys come and join 7 free days. Moses Brown, Young Jesus. Yes, I just made up that nickname like as we're live on the show right now. Young Jesus.
Oh, he looks young. Look at that picture.
Moses.
Look at him.
Look at this. Guy looks like he's taking his middle school grad picture. Look at this. I love it. Guy's going out there, dropping 20 and 20 at halftime, and he looks like he's 15 years old. This is a game that, you know what, 6,800 is a lot to pay for him. I'm hoping he keeps his ownership at least in check. Is he going to get up to the 10, 15, 20% range? I do believe so, especially with the productivity that he's had lately. I just don't want him to be overly played in the style of tournaments that I play, because then at that point I might pivot. But this is a dream matchup where Dallas cannot rebound the ball. I don't understand why, because Porzingis is like 9 feet tall. They have a ton of big men that's out there. I don't get why they're struggling with rebounding. Luka's getting like 10 rebounds a game, but for some reason they can't defend the ball on their own end of the court. Moses specializes in offensive rebounds. ton of opportunity in the paint for him tonight. Al Horford shut down for the season. OKC's got nothing to lose but to play this guy for 30 plus minutes. Fantasy point per minute machine. I can't say enough about Moses Brown tonight. I absolutely love him.
So I'm sure we love narratives here on Win Daily Sports, windailysports.com. Moses Brown just got a new contract on Sunday. So are we playing off of that new contract narrative?
We
are we doing that?
Absolutely. He's going to go out there and say, not only did I deserve this contract, I deserve double it. He's going to go out there. A 2020 game would not surprise me, like not in the least. That's exactly what I'm expecting from Moses tonight. He's going to go out there. He's going to ball out. Isaiah Roby's always a threat. Poku's always a threat too. They could get more touches than him. They kind of really ride the hot hand there with the style that their offense runs in. But I just, with the amount that Dallas struggles on the inside, I don't foresee OKC challenging Luka on the outside. They're going to want to attack the paint. They're going to want to get in and get those easy layups, get those dunks, and all that flows through Moses.
Yeah, one thing you did mention, though, about this game, Luka Doncic is coming back after missing the last 2 games, back injury and illness, and he might not be needed to do much in this one. So I completely agree with you. Maybe stay away from Luka Doncic in that one. Now we're going to Sacramento, San Antonio. De'Aaron Fox has been unbelievable as of late. Sacramento has won 4 straight during that stretch. Fox has 36.8 points, 5.5 assists, also while shooting 64% from the field. Are we riding the hot hand in De'Aaron Fox?
The price is a little bit much for me. I have a hard time not playing him just because first thing I do when I look at a slate, obviously I look at the games. Everyone knows like my process there. I look at the game environments first, and then I end up picking individual guys that I'm looking at. When we're talking about recent productivity, De'Aaron Fox has been balling out. The guy's dropping 30 plus a game. His peripherals are great. He's been dishing the rock fairly well because of Tyrese Halliburton knocking down some shots. Harrison Barnes is playing some good ball. Rashawn Holmes is coming into his own because Luke Walton finally figured out that, hey, I have like 4 good players on my team, so let me actually play them. De'Aaron Fox has been playing really well. At 9,500, I don't know if I could stomach that price against Greg Popovich's defense. But on the flip side, I am playing DeJounte Murray. I'm a big DeJounte Murray guy, 7,100 for DeJounte. This is a guy that can easily triple-double on any night. People talk about how Luka Doncic rebounds the ball well, how he could dish the rock. DeJounte Murray could do that with the best of them. He could score at will against this matchup in De'Aaron Fox. His defensive capability in this one, it's just his upside is enormous. De'Aaron Fox turns over the ball at alarming rates. He pushes the pace a ton. One of my favorite players to watch. But on the flip side, DeJounte Murray with those quick hands. Ton of steals for DeJounte tonight. Some buckets in transition. Going to be finding some open guys. No Aldridge. He's going to be able to take over that locker room and really say, look, this is my team now. Everyone knows DeMar is on his way out. DeJounte knows that this is his franchise. Even with Derek White back in the lineup, my one concern was, okay, does Greg Popovich go back to what he did last season, where Derek White ends up playing 35, DeJounte plays 15? Then you're like, okay, let me play Derek White. Then the next game, Derek White plays 10, and DeJounte plays 36. That's not the case this season. DeJounte has been the guy for them all season long. I'm riding DeJounte tonight at 7,100, way too cheap for the amount of upside that he has in this matchup.
Yeah, hard to argue with the season he's having, averaging career highs in points, rebounds, assists, and 3-pointers, 4th year in the NBA for the 24-year-old. It definitely looks like it is starting to be his franchise there in San Antonio. Moving on, 9 o'clock, Utah taking on Cleveland. Donovan Mitchell had a big game in his last game against the Grizzlies, 35 points, 7 assists, 2 rebounds, and a steal. Colin Sexton over on the Cleveland side, he's been doing very well, but Rudy Gobert also has just been putting up stats in every single way. Is there any chance for putting Mitchell and Gobert in the lineup, especially Gobert, because, again, he's been stuffing the stat sheet in a lot of different ways?
Yeah, it's the Rudy Gobert revenge tour, I guess, apparently, for shutting down the NBA, and who knows what would have happened there. But it'd be quite the season for Utah to win the championship. I don't think it's going to happen, but if Utah win that championship and then you end up having Rudy Gobert not only shut down the season, then he gets the first bucket of the new season. He scored the first ever points in this campaign, and then Utah ends up winning the championship. That would be that would be one heck of a story. But if there's anybody that I'm playing from the Utah side, it's going to be Donovan Mitchell or Gobert. I'm not playing both of them. My one concern here is the point spread. So this line actually opened up at 13.5 for Utah. It's now up to 16.5 to 17 on some books with the amount of money that's coming on the Utah side. Very worrisome when Vegas ends up moving the line 2.5, 3.5 points for a team that's nearly favored by 20 because they think that they're going to blow them out that bad. So if anybody ends up scoring a ton tonight, it might be Jordan Clarkson. A little revenge game for Jordan Clarkson, former Cleveland Cavalier. I don't think they need Donovan Mitchell to play 36 in this game. I don't think they need Rudy Gobert to play 36 in this game. I really do think that if one of them goes off, it's going to be exactly that. It's going to be one of them. I do favor Rudy in this matchup. Cleveland absolutely blows on the inside on the defensive end. So I'll take Gobert in this one. It's going to be a ton of rebounds for him, just like Cleveland is going to be able to chasing points the entire night. They're going to be taking a ton of shots. Are they going to make them all? No, it's Cleveland. So Rudy Gobert is going to be grabbing a ton of rebounds. I like that. I like the solid floor that he presents us with. And if you're looking at cash games, specifically, you want to target guys that have safe floors. You want to say, can this guy put up an absolute stinker where I don't cash my lineups? Rudy Gobert will never be that guy for you. At the bare minimum, he'll get you 30 to 40 DraftKings points. And when we're talking about paying 8,200, obviously you don't want the 30 side. But when we're talking about a floor from 35 to 40 points and you're playing cash, Rudy Gobert can be that one guy that makes your lineup different from the chalk of all chalk, the highest owned players on the slate, where, you know what, I'd feel safe playing Rudy Gobert. I'm a big Colin Sexton guy. I'm just staying away from this one, not because I don't like his game. I absolutely love his game. I'm a huge Colin Sexton fan. I just don't like to attack Utah's defense ever. So unless it's somebody that, you know what, they can take over a game on their own, Colin Sexton is on his way to being that guy. He's not there yet. He's a very flashy scorer. A product of his surroundings, if I could say so. The opportunity is there. I love his game. He needs a ton of touches, but against Utah's defense, I can't really touch it there. Jordan Clarkson's okay. That's about it from that one. I'm not really touching much from that game.
Yeah, and Larry Nance Jr., he's questionable because of an illness. Back to some other injury news, a game we went over in New Orleans and Boston. Lonzo Ball, he is doubtful now. So does that change anything? Especially, we talked a lot about Zion Williamson in that matchup, but with him being doubtful, does that change anything with New Orleans?
Yeah, if anything, Zion gets even more touches, exactly what we've been seeing over the past week plus. And then the other player that I mentioned was Nickeil Alexander-Walker. He's likely going to get another spot start. Been playing 32 minutes a night for 4 out of his past 5. Nickeil Alexander-Walker at 5,800 is somebody that enters my player pool tonight. Price has gone up there a little bit, and it's not exactly the most favorable matchup against Marcus Smart or Evan Fournier. I do respect their defense, especially Marcus Smart. I hate Evan Fournier. I hate his game, but I respect his D. Marcus Smart more so. That's the one that worries me a little bit. If he switches on to Nickeil Alexander-Walker, that could hamper his ceiling quite a bit.
Now moving on to the 10 o'clock games here as we're wrapping things up here on the Win Daily Sports Show, windailysports.com. Check out everything, windailysports.com/chat to get on the Discord, all of that. And you should be doing it. Head over at Win Daily Sports on Twitter, windailysports.com. Steph Curry, he is probable now. He had a tailbone injury. He's missed a few games, but he's probable. He could be back in the lineup tonight. Does that mean he's back in our DFS lineups?
Absolutely. I can't reiterate that. Like I think people saw, like, if you're watching the show, you saw how serious my face was. I'm hoping if you're not watching,
that response was serious. That was no nonsense.
You sense the tone and how, like, I've been joking quite a bit this show. It's Mojito Monday. I can't joke about not playing Steph Curry tonight. Like, this is a game where Steph drops 40 raw. Playing against Chicago, Kobe White, Zach LaVine, Thomas Satoransky. No, and no. It's not happening. Warriors have looked abysmal without Curry. This is a game where he comes back and lets the league know that they're able to make a playoff push because of one man. He just makes everybody around him better. It opens up shots for Andrew Wiggins, for Kelly Oubre. Am I fans of their game? Look, if you don't know, join the Discord. You'll find out if I'm fans of their game. Let's just put it that way. But what it does is that it amples Draymond Green's ability to be a game changer on that floor. Draymond just is a completely different player when he's playing with Steph. Even when you look at games where Draymond's played with Clay, he's not the same player. When he's out there with Steph, it's just a completely different offense. It's a completely different defense. He changes the dynamics of the game. At 9,400, this is a guy that could break the slate. And when we're talking about somebody like myself that plays GPPs primarily, the guaranteed prize pool tournaments, I want guys that have the highest ceilings on the slate. I don't want to play a player and say, man, I hope he gets me 40. Stephen, I need that guy that's going to drop me 60, that's going to drop me 70. Somebody like Russell Westbrook, somebody like Stephen Curry. Those are two guys tonight that could definitely do it. And when we're talking about Russell Westbrook at 1,100, and you end up saving 1,600 to go to Stephen Curry and have similar output, it's definitely something that I'm considering right now. That's the only Warrior that I'm interested in. It's going to be the Steph Curry do or die show. On the flip side, you already have it on the screen. You know, I'm a Nikola Vucevic big truther, big Nikola Vucevic truther. NBA All-Star, rightfully so. Him and Sabonis, two of the best big men in the league. I was waiting for you to jump in there and say Embiid, but I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure.
No,
I
I'll let that one go.
I wasn't sure how that one would fly over. I wasn't sure how that one would fly over.
Former Sixers great, so I can
there
be
we go.
okay with
Boom.
that.
I love it. Okay, so Vooch in this one, he's just too big for Draymond. Draymond's going to shy away from this one. If people watch enough Warriors games, they're going to say, or they look at the analytics specifically, they're going to say Draymond's a good defender. He's a great defender. Very, very great defender. But when he ends up having these matchups where he's oversized, he ends up shying away a little bit and ends up switching on to guys like Lauri Markkanen. So I wouldn't be surprised here if it's the Kevon Looney's, if it's the James Wisemans that end up going up on Vooch. And anybody that's watched the Warriors game, if you watch Wiseman and you see how much I end up on other shows, end up making fun of John Collins because that if anybody breathes within 6 feet of him, he ends up fouling them. James Wiseman is pretty much that in the early stages of his career right now. So Vooch is going to be able to get to the line a ton, having a career year from behind the arc. James Wiseman isn't going to be able to go out there and guard him. And then if Draymond switches onto him, Vooch could beat him to the rim every single time. So am I playing LaVine in this one? It's a good matchup for Zach LaVine. The price point is there, but I side with Vooch on the inside.
Now, last game on the slate, also 10 o'clock, and this may be the best one. Milwaukee taking on the Los Angeles Clippers. I don't know if it's going to be an NBA Finals matchup, but could potentially. Paul George, though, I want to highlight because his last game, he was a rebound away and an assist away from a triple-double. Also added 3 steals on there, a block shot. Paul George had a great game against the Sixers, but it was against a depleted Sixers team. Now the Clippers going on to take Milwaukee. What are we going with here? Are we maybe going to ride Paul George? Are we fading Giannis? Where are we going with this Milwaukee Clippers match?
I'm locking in Giannis. So I've labeled out a couple stars that I'm interested in. Curry, Westbrook, a couple other guys that we've been talking throughout the show. The good thing about YouTube is that it is recorded, so make sure that you go and rewind the couple guys that I've mentioned there. But the one stud that I am absolutely locking in right now as things change up to tip, we're about 33 minutes away from tip here. Giannis Antetokounmpo will 100% be in my main lineup tonight. This is a matchup where he absolutely owns the Clippers, destroys them over the past couple of years. Kawhi's defense will scare a couple people away. He's had some rough games out there. He played really bad versus Boston 2 games in a row. It's the last game on the slate. People are going to lock in Westbrook. They're going to lock in the studs from the earlier games. Giannis Antetokounmpo is somebody that could break a slate on any given day. And when you're talking about getting him under-owned in a matchup because of being on the last game of the slate, being against Kawhi's defense, none of that worries me. This is a spot where I'm absolutely locking him in. I probably would have paid close to 11,500 to 12,000 in my DFS lineups tonight to play Giannis Antetokounmpo. At 10-7, it's just a no-brainer. You end up looking at what he's done in the past couple of weeks. You're saying, okay, well, his floor is probably 30 points, 35 points, paying 10.7. It's way too much. Can't afford that. It's going to tank my lineup. Yeah, and it did that night. But if you scroll back a couple more and you end up seeing 76, 80, 75.
Yep. Now, I was about to say, seeing a lot of 70s, 76. Yeah, it's big.
Now, all of a sudden, he's not tanking your lineups. He's winning you tournaments. And we're talking about winning a ton of money. So that's exactly what I play for. We're not playing to min cash. We're playing to win tournaments. Giannis is that guy. He's been hitting his free throws. He's getting to the line a lot more, grabbing rebounds. He can oversize anybody in this matchup. I really do like it. Am I going to have a Clipper run back in this one and kind of have a 1-2 stack? Probably not. If there's anybody there, I give the edge to Paul George over Kawhi just because of Giannis on the defensive end. That's just a huge length mismatch, and I will take Paul George over Middleton any day of the week in this matchup. So I do like Paul George in this one, but not enough for him to make my main lineup, especially when he's floating around the same price bracket as the Fred VanVleets, as the John Walls, and way more expensive than DeJounte Murray, etc. There's a plethora of good guard options tonight. I don't think I'm going to get to Paul George, but the one guy that I am locking in this game for my late night hammer is going to be none other than Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah, and you know what? Doesn't it seem like a perfect storm for it because it's the late slate, because he's only averaged about 30 fantasy points per game. It's a perfect storm of maybe forgetting about Giannis and the things he did. And so to highlight that, the fact that, if you look at a little bit past those 2 games, you look at 60 points, 57, 76, 70. This could be a perfect storm of everybody's maybe going to forget about it, low usage, low ownership, and Giannis could maybe win a slate for you, and I think it's a good one. WinDailySports.com, WinDailySports.com/chat is where you can join our Discord and hang out with us. It's a great group. I just joined, which is, by the way, debut show, 11-game slate with my guy Ghost. Great time, man, and really enjoyed it with you. And keep buttering me up with all the Sixer stuff. That's good. If we continue, I think we're going to do really well here.
Absolutely. I'll look to keep it forwarding. It was a great show. Thank you. Thank you for coming on with me. It was. It's going to be a great ride to the end of the season here.
Yeah, can't wait. At DFS_Ghost, at JJansen34, at Daily Sports, and then WinDailySports.com, as you could check out all of it. Good luck tonight, everybody. Hopefully you are tailing Ghost plays here. And you know what? Let's make some cash. How about we do that? WinDailySports.com.